Hello, everybody. Hi, Pippa. Glad I'm not talking to myself. Can you hear me okay? Oh, hello. Everybody's popping in. How lovely to see you all. This is my first attempt, so forgive me. There might be hiccups along the way. Hi, Kim. Hi, Kathleen and Emma. Hello, Sue. How lovely to have your company. I'm looking forward to it as well, Sally. I am. I'm a bit like eek, but I'll be fine when I get going. So yeah, it's going to be lovely. Thanks. Oh, good, good. Um, let's hope that continues. So, what are we doing, and what am I doing here? Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Gwen Fletcher. I have my own craft shop called the Stamp Pad, but that's not what this is about. This is about Jamie Rodgers Crafts, and I'm very honoured to be here on Jamie's behalf doing a Thursday night natter. And hopefully these will become a regular feature, and I'll be able to bring you my spin on some of Jamie's products, as well as sneak peeks of things I've got coming up on behalf of Jamie. There are things that are going on in the pipeline which are so exciting. I can't even tell you. Well, I can't tell you, literally. So, hi, Christine. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm so happy to be on board with Jamie. We have such a lot of fun together. We're great mates, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this journey. So tonight, what I'm hoping to do for you all is take a look back at the Essentials collection. Hi, Sharon. Nice to have you with us. So the Essentials collection was the very first collection Jamie brought out back in January 24, I believe. And I think because quite a lot of you might be new to Jamie or have joined him even in the last 6 months, you will not have seen much of this collection. These things come and go so quickly, and it's a shame because it's a beautiful collection, and it was the foundation of everything that came afterwards. So I thought it would be lovely to go back and have a little look at it. And it's great as well because it really shows how all Jamie's collections tie together. I know he tells you this every time he brings out a new collection, but when we go back and look at this foundation collection, you'll see that right from the start he had this plan, and it's really lovely to show how it's all unfolding, and I think it's just absolutely brilliant. Oh, hello, Yvonne. Goodness me, from the Netherlands. I hope you're having a lovely time. Hi, Kim. Hi, Bethan. Oh, it's lovely to see names that I know as well. It's really lovely. So let's have a look at what the collection actually involves, what's in that collection. So let's have a look here. So we've got 8 die sets, and they're all quite different. And there are also 4 beautiful stencils. So let's have a quick look at some of these. We have 2 circle sentiments. We've got Happy Birthday and With Love. We have 2 sets of beautiful corners, Butterfly Corners and Regal Corners. Then we've got the Straight Lines die. This is probably one of the most underrated dies and one of the most brilliant dies I've ever seen. So I'm going to talk to you about that. Then we've got the Elegant Butterflies from the Creatures of the World collections, and from the Florist collections we have Gracious Leaves and Forget Me Not. And then, as I say, we do have 4 really lovely stencils. So let me show you those. These are 8 by 8. So this one is Butterfly Kaleidoscope. Then we also have the Forget Me Not Floral Spray. Are you getting the idea? So Forget Me Nots, the styles match. So you can easily use these together. That's a beautiful diagonal spray. I really love that. And then we have the Elegant Butterfly Formation. So that's a more sort of rigid pattern, if you like, but there's nothing to stop you using that on the diagonal as well and just picking out small sections. So obviously these are going to tie in with the butterfly die that we have here. And then we have the small Forget Me Not Ditsy pattern, the floral burst all over. So these are 8 by 8. The actual stencil material is 8 inches across, but the pattern is probably about 7.5. So it gives you room to mat and layer that onto the front of your card. But obviously as well, with patterns like this, you can reduce them and use a much smaller section. You don't have to use the whole thing every time. So those are the stencils. So let me go into a little bit more detail now about some of these dies. Let's have a look at the circles. I think these are brilliant. Each set gives you 3 dies. So in the Happy Birthday, we get a scalloped, a decal edge, a straight or smooth circled edge, and then this very delicate, I suppose you could call it filigree, with the Happy Birthday scrolly words on there. So with a die set like this, with 3 different dies, it gives you so many options. And I just want to show you as many of those as I can as we look at these in more detail. And this one is the With Love. Now with this one, you're going to get a scallop circle, the plain circle, which is the same size as that one, and then this time we're going to be having With Love in the delicate scrolly font. So these all have different jobs. They can all be used independently or together to give different results. So let's take a closer look. So with this one, this is the Happy Birthday, and if you just cut the scallop, I'm getting mixed up with my words, the decal edge from cardstock, this is what you will get. You'll get a decal edge circle. Now, if you're familiar with Jamie's later collections, you'll know that he's bringing out all his layering dies with a decal edge, as well as other shapes. So this is going to help because that's going to match as well. Then if you want to cut the plain edged circle, that will give you a plain or, smooth edge circle. But don't forget, when you cut that, if we'd cut it in blue, say, you also get the aperture. And you can use that as a frame as well over something else. So you could pop the words behind and then pop this over the top. That's another way to use them. And then this one doesn't cut out completely if you use it on its own. So if you cut this into a piece of card, this is what you will get. So can you see, this is what we mean when we say it cuts into the card. It doesn't come out, it doesn't fall out as a circle. It stays with the words, really clever inside. And I love this type of die because it gives you options of what you can pop behind it. You can add a frame around it. You can add an aperture over it. You can do all sorts of things. It's really, really clever. So you could just simply put a contrasting colour at the back of it. You could then, if you cut that's the other one, sorry. If you cut the decal edge circle and pop that over there, then you've got a decal edge frame to it and a little bit more of a margin. And if you lift that up on foam pads, then it gives quite a lot of dimension. And then again, you've got options as to what you might pop behind it. Do you see where we're going now? It's really, there are so many options, even with just 3 dies. So really, really beautiful. Now, if we cut this one and this one together, let me get something a bit stronger behind so you can see a bit better. There we are. So if we cut the smooth circle and the words together, that will give us the Happy Birthday words inside a circle. And that has a really narrow frame, really pretty. You could also cut that with the scallop. And that would give you that sort of shape, but with a scalloped edge and a little bit wider margin. You can also cut the scallop, I keep calling it scallop, you know what I mean, decal, and the smooth together. That would actually give you a really lovely little frame with a decal edge, quite narrow. But when you pop that over this one, I think that's really attractive. you've got a lovely little decal, tiny frame. You could do that in a contrast. Not everything has to be done in the same colour, of course. So you could do your little frame in blue and put the blue behind, or whatever it is you're working on your colour schemes. So there we are. I think that's covered pretty much all of that. So as you can see, lots of options. And then exactly the same for the With Love set. But this one has the scalloped outside edge. So you've got all those same options. Apertures, frames, surrounds, all that sort of thing. And different shapes if you cut them together. So if we cut just the words, with that scalloped edge, so you cut them both together through your die cut machine, and you would then achieve this. I think that's beautiful. And I love also that there's a little detail here, there's a little heart, and I've actually left the pieces in that just to keep it as a little solid heart. And in the birthday one, you might not have noticed because I didn't fill it in, but there's a little star. So you could put a little gold star, sparkly star, whatever you like, pop it back in. Really lovely. So those are your circle sayings. I think they're great. So if we have any questions, do please pop them in the comments. If I say something you don't understand, which is highly likely, not because you don't understand, but because of the way I say things. So do say, oh, Gwen, I didn't understand that. That's fine. I won't be offended at all. So please do. All right, let me just have a look at some of the comments now. Let's see where we're at. Hello. So hi, Wendy. Out in the garden. It's freezing here. Oh, I hope you're in the sunshine. Hello, Lynn. Hi, Bethan. So I don't know if you've had any questions. Let me have a quick look. Probably not yet. Hi, Kim. Hi, Diane and Fran. Hello, Fran. Okay, lovely to see so many of you. Hi, Mary. Sorry, May. Teresa. Sharon, I agree completely. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Sharon was saying how great Jamie's products are, and they really are superb. So, as I say, you might not know me. Why would you? But I was on the design team and the demonstrator team with Creative Expressions with Jamie. We joined there at the same time, and we had a great time working there until he departed and went off to do his own magic somewhere else. So that was very exciting as well. I stayed with Creative Expressions. I was actually with them for nearly 6 years. You probably know by now that sadly they've closed the doors. But that's given me this opportunity to come along, and Jamie's very kindly given me the chance to work with him. So I'm very, very grateful and very excited to see what we can do. So I, as I say, do have my own craft shop as well. So I've been a retailer for longer than I want to think actually, 22 years, nearly 23 years. Absolutely love papercraft. I came in from stamping. I've always been into my stamping and inks and things like that. I love all that. And then of course die cutting came along. That opened up a whole new world, didn't it? So it's been a very exciting journey, up and downs, but I'm still here. So keep pushing on. Try and move with the times and try to use Facebook. Not always easy. So if you are a stockist and you happen to be watching this evening, do please pop your links to your websites in the comments, and then people can support their local stockists, because that's something Jamie's really hot on. Both he and I, being retailers, know how hard it is to get support from suppliers. So it's fabulous that he's taken this on board, and that's one of his focuses, is to support the retailers. So do feel free to pop your details in there. Mine, as I say, is called the Stamp Pad. I'm just going to pop it down here if I can. I can't type and talk at the same time. There we are. It says Jamie Rodgers Crafts, but that's because I'm on Jamie's page. So I've got some of Jamie's collections. I haven't had them all, but I've got quite a lot of stock. And you might also know that on the 7th of June, in my own shop, I am doing a Jamie Rodgers demo day. So that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to that very much. And I will be showing off the latest collection on that day, which is the Patchwork collection. And as well as taking a look back at the music and the vintage travel collections. So lots and lots going on. If you're in my area or if you fancy a day out, please do drop in. You've been most welcome. Anyway, enough about me. So let's go back to this wonderful collection. So this straight lines die, I know because I looked at it and thought, what is that for? Well, it's very, very clever. So it's a die which cuts out 4 wide strips and 4 very narrow strips. So I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine so you can see what they actually look like. So just bear with me a second while I do this off to the side. And then you can see exactly how it cuts. Because I think that's important with dies, is to see how they actually cut. Right, so here we are on my very manky cutting plate. Can you see now we've got 4, I'd say they're probably about 1/8 of an inch, and these are probably about 1/16 of an inch. And you've got 4 of each perfectly cut. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had to cut those by hand, even with a guillotine, a really good guillotine, I think I'd be struggling to get them that accurate. So, all right, so you get the idea. What do we do with them? Well, these were originally designed to create frames to match the corners. I just wanted to show you this as well. Can you see how my die has bowed? And if you're not that confident a die cutter, or you're perhaps new to it, don't panic if that happens. It's perfectly normal. The dies are flexible and they have to be to withstand the pressure through the die cut machine. So all you need to do is very gently flex it back with your fingers. Don't actually bend it really, really hard. Just sort of work along it, flex it back, and it's, look, absolutely fine. So don't worry about that. Don't think you've done something wrong or you've broken it. It's not at all. So going back to the corners then, with 2 corners here, the Regal and the Butterfly. And these have a cross die. I'll talk about these in a bit more detail. They've got an outside panel, a cross die, and then you get 4 corners. The 2 corners are different thicknesses and they match these strips. So when you cut your corner and you put it on your card, you can actually join the corners together so it looks like a frame. And I've got a card here that's done with the music collection. But you can see how I've used those strips to join all those corners together. Isn't that elegant? I love that. And this is a half cut front of a card. So I've got them in the inside joined up with the strips. And then I've also been able to join up on the outside of the front, but only halfway, but it still matches up along. You have to be careful when you're putting it down, but it matches all the way along. So it looks like a frame on the front, but it still has a frame on the inside. And that's down to these clever little strips. Isn't that amazing? I mean, who thinks of things like that? Well, Jamie does. So what else can we do with these? You can actually create plaid patterns. You can weave them. You could just create some lovely little thin border strips. However you would use a border. Do you remember those really fine peel-off dies that were little peel-off lines, little thin lines? Well, they're a bit like those, but you can have these any colour you want. You can cut them all together really quickly. You could also use them for quilling. If you like to quill and you'd like to cut your own paper strips, that would be absolutely brilliant for these. It's great for using offcuts of card. You can see out of that piece I cut mine out of. how little I actually used. And I don't know about you, but I always have loads of strips left over from cutting squares off A4 pieces of card. And you're always left with a strip down the side, aren't you? And I tend to cut tags and things like that out of it. But you can certainly use it for these as well. So absolutely brilliant for that. So those are your straight lines, and they all come from one die, two widths. I'd say, like I say, about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. And you can use them to join up your regal corners and your butterfly corners if you wish, but there are lots of other ways you can use them as well. Yes, you certainly can weave them, die. That's a fabulous idea. And I think if you invest in a die like that, you're going to want to play with it because it's intriguing. It's not like a die I've ever seen, and I think it's so clever. When you know about it, you think, yeah, of course, it makes perfect sense, but until you see it, you'd look at that and think, what? I did. I have to confess. Sorry, Jamie. So that's our straight line die. Now let me go back to the corners. I'm just going to have a look at see if I've missed any comments. Oh, thanks, Sally. Can you use fancy dyes as masks for spritzing inks, Fran? Yes, you can. I would die cut it from cardstock. Don't use the actual die. Well, you can, but if you die cut from cardstock and use that like a stencil, you can certainly use it that way. And then you'd get 2 for 1 because you'd have your cardstock that would be spritzed and coloured as well. And acting like a stencil, it would leave the pattern underneath as well. So you could do that. So have a go with something like that. That's good fun. If you do use your die as the actual stencil, because they've got it's called a flange, that little flat bit outside the cutting line, the pattern is actually reduced when you look at it through the actual die. So you can do it, but you'd get a much smaller section of the pattern. I don't think it would be quite as clear what the pattern was, but give it a go. Certainly give it a go. Oh, Kathleen, yes, shout out. Jamie's YouTube channel. Apparently, he's 175 subscribers short to be able to stream his Monday Night Natter live on YouTube. So that would be amazing. So if you do know anybody, let them know. Ask them to subscribe to Jamie's YouTube channel, and let's get him on there live. That'd be amazing. Oh, Emma. Yes, wouldn't that be gorgeous? Yeah, it might be a bit fiddly. It's called a what? What did I say? I said something daft already. Doesn't surprise me. This is something you'll get to know about me. I do sometimes spoonerise my words. And if you don't know what that means, it means when you've got 2 words and you flip the first letters. So the other day I was talking to Jimmy and I said, well, I fucked me ploning. He went, you what? I said, I fucked me ploning. I meant I plugged my phone in. So yeah, I do this quite a lot. Oh, flange. Oh, the flange. Oh, well, this might be come from my dental days. Flange. But I don't think so. Let me just show you, if you don't know what I'm on about, which is, not unusual for me to be waffling. So, if you have a look, this is quite a normal looking die. So we've got our scalloped cutting edge, which is the little ridge. And then they've got this flat section on the inside and quite often on the outside as well. That's the flange. So it's like the support or the extra bit, if you like, that's holding that cutting edge where it should be. Because without that, it'd be all over the place, wouldn't it? No, it's not really a hinge, Fran. It's a flat section that extends from the pattern in this instance. So now we're getting a bit technical. I wasn't going to do that tonight because I am a bit of a geek and I do like to go on about stuff, but let's not. All right, so back to these corners then. So how do these work? Well, as I say, we've got this scallop or decal, depending which one you choose, and they are interchangeable between the sets, of course. These are going to match the circles that we looked at earlier, because there we had a scallop and a decal edge in those, so that's good. Then they each have this cross die. stuck that one. Hang on. There we are. So this cross die, let me find something to put it on so you can see a bit better. Here we are. This is clever as well because it cuts this edge and it cuts this cross. So if you cut that on its own, you will get 4 solid corners. Now just let me find my bits and pieces. I can show you. Here we are. So if you cut this shape, I took some cardstock, you'll get 4 of these. Okay, solid. If you cut that with these at the same time, so you're going to pop these in place. And what I also love about these dies is that the space between the pattern die and the edge isn't that great, so it's far easier to get them in position. Sometimes I can faff for England trying to get them balanced with the margins. So I love these because they just slot into place really, really easily. I love that. So we'll pop these in, all 4, and you can still put this through. You'd have to tape them together and take them to the cardstock. So I would recommend taping across these and then tape that to your cardstock. Cut that out, and then you would get 4 individual corners with the patterning like this. Isn't that pretty? And such a clever idea. There's nothing worse than only having 1 corner in a set and you have to cut it over and over again to get the 4 things. But this does 4 for you all at the same time, so brilliant. If you cut these and then you decide, oh, I wish I'd put the pattern in it, you can still put the pattern in it because you can put this back on it, or on it for the first time, run it through your die cut machine and achieve one of these. So if you change your mind midway, that's absolutely fine, you can do that. And then if you've cut, I've cut this one in white to show you the contrast. Cut 4 of these and you've cut 4 of these. These act as a backing plate to this. So that gives you lots of options. That could be your colour scheme on your card that you want to follow through into the corners. It may be that you want to add some glitter through there or some gilding flake. It's entirely up to you, but you would then need to cut this with an adhesive top to it. So you just put your double-sided adhesive on your cardstock before you die cut it, and then you'd have the protective paper on here. Take that off, that would be sticky. Attach this to it, and then put your glitter or your gilding flake through the gaps. Does that make sense? So again, really clever, really versatile sets. Absolutely love these. I can see lots of uses for these as well. You can do pattern building with these. If you like to do sort of geometric patterns, you could certainly start and create patterns and build them up. So you could create a motif like this. And then if you want to, you could put that on a panel and put it on the diagonal. And that gives you an entirely different look. So many things you can do. You just need to play, cut them out, see what they look like. And just one last thing to say about these then. If you cut this on its own, it's a bit like we were talking about the circle dies. If you cut them on their own without an edge, they cut the pattern into the card and they don't come out as a separate shape. And that's what I've done here. So if I just pop that onto the card, and I'm not using the edges at all that come with the cross die, oops, then it will just cut a pattern and leave it in the card. And that's lovely on the corner of something as well. You know, even just one corner. Then you might want your sentiment here and perhaps some flowers here, and you've got a lovely card. So again, very, very versatile. So many options. And this, of course, a scallop square. When is that not useful? All the time. So that's really good to have that to use independently or with the set as it comes. And the other set is the same principle, but this one has little butterflies. Can you see? It's got a little butterfly motif in the middle of each one. And I've just cut these just so you can see what that actually looks like. So here we have those lovely little butterflies on the corners. And I think you can see that these don't have to go on a massive card. You can make small cards. You could put that circle sentiment in the middle there, and that would be really pretty. You could add some gems, some sparkle. You know the score. Okay, so that's our corners, our regal corners and our butterfly corners. And I'm going to come and say hello to a few more people. Okay, Samantha, hi. Hi, Inga. I hope I've said that properly. Siobhan, lovely to see you. Sam, honestly, only you. Okay, I think we've caught up. Right, so let's have a look at something else. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you with the corners. There was an actual technique I did want to investigate with you, so let's have a look at that. So, you've just heard me mention about putting the pattern in and not using the edge dies to actually create that triangular corner. So I'm going to show you a way that that becomes useful. So I have here a strip of Jamie's lovely pebble grey card, and I'm going to attach these corners in a pattern. So one up, one down like this. But how do I get them straight? Well, it's actually quite easy to do because the edges of these are the same length. So if you push them together, make sure the ends, the points if you like, are lined up, and then tape those to each other, and then do the next one. You can get them really close together, and then this one. And then take that to your card as well. And what I like to do is use a piece of stencil tape, low tack stencil tape. I do take the tack off this a little bit because when this goes through the die cutting machine, it can get really sticky and stick to your card, and then it can tear it. But that's just going to help to hold those all in place on the cardstock. Okay, and I'm going to whiz this through so you can see what it does. Just bear with me a minute. There we are. Just clean off my plate for next time. So you can see all those bits are popping out, and the reason I've put them together on a piece of stencil tape, see, it's just caught my card a little bit there and ripped it. Well, that's all right because I'm going to cut it a bit more anyway. This means you can keep these attached together, and then you can go and cut them again, and you don't have to reposition them again. So you just need to clean the bits out of your die, and then you can just go and cut that again without removing and repositioning everything. So that's just a little help. And then just see how easily all these bits come out. I love it. But how pretty is that pattern now? All right, there's a few more bits to pop out there, but it's just so different. You wouldn't think that that had been done with a corner, would you? I just think it's brilliant. And obviously, you can extend that to whatever length you choose. You can take it all the way around a scrapbook page. If you like to do scrapbooking, you could use that as a scrapbook border. That would be gorgeous. Or even just down one side across the top. Same on a card, you could do it up one side. I actually decided that I was going to make a strip with it. So I got a couple more of the corners. Just make sure you clean the bits out. And then I completed my pattern by cutting another one either end, okay, because I had already measured this out, so I knew what I needed. And then I've got some double-sided adhesive, and I've put this to the back. So I'm just going to take one side off the double-sided adhesive. Can you see that? So this is the protective backing paper, and this is the sticky surface, and then obviously there's another protective backing paper here. You probably know all this, but there might be people watching who don't. So take that off and remember which side came away from the sticky, and put it underneath the apertures in the card. That's just so that when I push this onto my card now, it's not going to stick to my table underneath. All right, so let's pop that down and then press that in nice and firmly. The thing about doing this is I always say to people, try and keep your fingers off it, because once your fingers have gone onto that tacky sheet, it doesn't stay tacky very long. So let's just give that a really good press down. And then I'm going to bring in some of Jamie's gorgeous gemstones glitter. This one is pink sapphire. And I'm going to put this through this pattern. So you don't need a huge amount, because you can spread that with your finger. This could also be done with flakes, mica powder, even beads. If you've got tiny little accent beads, they work well for this technique. These would look really opulent, wouldn't they, done like that? A beaded border, wow. Ooh, I might have to have a go at that. And now we have that beautiful pattern all sparkled. If you're not somebody that likes a lot of sparkle, then you can just put a contrasting colour cardstock at the back. You don't need to do all the double-sided adhesive then if you're doing that. Isn't that pretty? That pattern is stunning, isn't it? All right, let me just put my mess out of the way. When I say mess, I mean pretty mess, of course. So when that's completed and I've done the extra bits on the end, this is what you're left with. So I've got a full, I think about 7-inch strip, using 4 full patterns and then 2 half patterns on the ends. See that? It would make a lovely bookmark, Bethan. Diane, no, I'm not actually. I'm not a big scrapbooker. I like doing mini books, and I love doing books that have lots of pull-out panels, pockets, secret tuckaways, all that sort of thing. But not as far as traditional scrapbooking goes. I'm not really that good at it, and no. Thank you, Sally. Very kind of you. So there we are. So that's our border. And then I'm going to attach that to a piece of this beautiful pink cardstock to create the border for my card. Okay. And I'll show you the rest as we go along. I'm going to do bits, techniques, and then I'm going to show you how it all comes together at the end to make a beautiful card, hopefully. So, moving on. Oh, excuse me, my nose is running. We're going to now have a look at the flowers, the forget-me-not flowers. This is a beautiful set of flowers, and I know we've got thousands of flowers to choose from, but these are just a little bit different, and I'll tell you for why. Well, there's a couple of fairly major reasons actually why they're different. The first thing is that they come all on one plate, and I love this idea. I don't know if I dare say this, knowing the boss is watching, but I hate making flowers. And Jamie loves making flowers. But it's all the cutting and picking them all up off your die cutting machine and all of that. But this, they all cut in one fell swoop. One pass through the machine, and because of that, they can be placed really closely together. This is an A6-ish size die, so you could probably get more than 4 out of an A4 piece, to be honest, but certainly 4 of these from an A4 piece of card. So it's economical. Whereas if you've got individual flower dies and you position them on your die cut machine, you tend to have to leave quite a bit of space, because if they overlap, and they can shift in the machine. I mean, the pressure in these machines is quite incredible. So if they shift, then they overlap, they get bent. I've done it myself and I've ruined a die. Once it's bent like that, you can't straighten it. It's not like flexing, like I was saying before. It's actually physically bent and you can't undo that. So you space them all out so they don't do that, and, you know, use a lot of card up doing that. But this way, it's a small piece of card, cuts them all out in one go, and then you just shape them and stack them. Absolutely fab. And the other reason I like these so much is, if you have a look here, this flower and this one a little bit as well, they're actually sort of like a sideways flower. So you know when you get a bobbing flower head, it's not a full open bloom and it's just off to the side. You don't often get those in flowers at all. You just get a full round open flower. So I love that, because it's going to allow you to put together sprays that have dimension and direction. You can even do a really simple card just with a little sideways flower on a little stem. You know, with a fine line pen, just draw a little stem, pop the flower on, put the centre in it, which you get on here. Can you imagine having that as a separate die? I mean, you wouldn't have it for 2 minutes, would you? It'd be gone. So again, brilliant that that's all attached in the plate as well. Love that. So that's our forget-me-nots. And let me show you what they look like once they've been cut and put together, because you don't want to watch me shape flowers, I'm sure. So this is using the largest one here, then this one, and then this lovely little spiky centre, and then a little gem. Isn't that pretty? You could do these little, what do they call them, stamens, black. You could do the flower red, that would look like a poppy. Really gorgeous. And then this one, which looks, it almost looks like a different flower, but it's the same petals, but it's using this one and this one. And then this gorgeous little fluted centre there. Even that's got incredible detail. Look at that, it's beautiful. Can you see it? That tiny little fluted centre. Just gorgeous. And then this one is going smaller again, so it's this one and this one, again using that little fluted centre. But you've got lots of choices of centres, and you've even got sideways centres for the sideways flowers. I mean, he thinks of everything, doesn't he? Let's face it. It makes our life much easier. So there's 3 little flowers done from the Forget-Me-Not set. Love that. And then I'm going to show you how to make a sparkly sentiment, if I can find them. I keep putting things off to the side and I've lost them. Bear with me. There we are. So I think I'll use the With Love. Shall I? What have I done with it? No, I'll have to use the Happy Birthday. I've lost my With Love. Right, that's fine. So I've actually used the scalloped edge, but that's not a bad thing because it shows how you can mix and match. So the scalloped edge comes with the With Love circle. And then I've got a piece of pink card, just roughly cut to size, and some double-sided adhesive, also just roughly cut to size. And then I've got a little piece of wax paper. This is, it's called Cut Right, R-I-T-E. I don't know if you can still get it these days. Creative Expressions used to sell it. But once you've got a roll, you've got it for life. If you can't get that, there are other wax papers out there, or even some bread wrappers are waxed, aren't they? So that might work. But this is just to release it from the die, because what I'm going to do is going to make this sticky. So I'm going to cut the circle, the smooth circle, and the Happy Birthday together. But I'm going to create my glitter sheet first. So let's do that. I'm going to take one side off the double-sided adhesive, And then I'm going to attach that to this piece of card. As I say, it's very roughly cut. Doesn't matter as long as it will fit that, which it does. Okay. And I'm going to create a piece of glittered paper. So I'm bringing back that beautiful pink sapphire. And I can use the glitter that I've got left from last time as well. So let's do that. Take off the second side of the adhesive paper. And then let's get this glitter on here. Just your pastry brush. Great for jobs like this. I don't mind glitter, but I do try to avoid getting all over my hands if I can help it. Just got enough there. Great stuff. Alright. Now I'm just going to turn that over and give it a really good press, because this is going to go through the die cutting machine now. And I don't really want to leave lots of glitter residue in my machine. So just, you know, give it a little bit of a clean up. And then we're going to put the dies in place. So, smooth circle die and happy birthday die onto our piece of glitter, and we're going to cut this out. Where does the wax paper go? Okay, so you need to think that this is the section, this is the front, and that's going to go in the die, and that's the bit that sometimes doesn't want to let go when you've got self-adhesive materials in there. So pop it on top of your glitter and it'll go inside your die, and then hopefully that will help it to release. I'm just going to tape these down. It won't tape very well to the wax paper, but we'll do what we can. It'll hold the two dies together. That's the main thing. A little bit of tape. And if I can just catch it on that little bit of card. Right, let's run this through the machine and we'll hope this works. I think as crafters we live in hope, don't we? Always hoping it's going to work properly. All right, let's have a look. So this should pop out really easily now. There we go. Look how easily that's come out of the die. And then you just have to pull that waxy paper off. Oh, isn't that just gorgeous? And the reason I glitter before I die cut is if you die cut first and you've got self-adhesive paper on the front of it, it's just not as clean, not as crisp. It just doesn't work as well. Now this you will find a little bit more fiddly than normal just cardstock because of that residual tack that the self-adhesive sheet gives. So you do have to sit and fiddle for a bit to get those bits out, but they will come out. It has cut all the way through, so you just need to wiggle and then get them out. They'll come out, but it does take a little bit of time. But hopefully you can get the idea of what I've done with that, and it's really pretty. Okay. All right. Any questions? Let's go back to having a look. Got my wrong specs on now. Swap my eyes. Yes, freezer paper. Yes, there's lots of options, aren't there? Yeah. It's a great idea having all your flowers on one sheet, isn't it? And he's done it with a few different dies, some of his leaves as well. In fact, the gracious leaves rather, that came in this collection, they're all on one plate as well. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous, because those are sorts of things that you lose. You scoop them in the bin or they stick to your sleeve and you walk off and drop them somewhere else. So, yeah. Hello, Susan. Nice to have you with us. I'm Gwen Fletcher, and I'm doing this on behalf of Jamie Rodgers Crafts. So, oh, Diane, just embrace it, love. It'll hoover up. Oh, the cat will be wearing it. Mine is just... It's all good fun. Okay, so let's flip back to our demos then. No questions yet? Hope everybody's enjoying it and you're all engrossed and you haven't gone off because you're bored. Oh, sorry about the noisy neighbours. I don't know if you could hear that. Children out playing. Right, so how am I going to put this all together? Well, I have some beautiful navy cardstock of Jamie's. Now, I know there's an issue with the cardstock at the minute and he isn't going to be able to replace the current range of cardstock that he's got. But I'm sure he's going to get us another beautiful range very soon. So this is his navy cardstock, and I love navy and pink teamed up together. And I've also then teamed it up with his pebble grey card blanks, 8x8 card blanks. So what I've done here is I've embossed the navy card with one of the stencils, and I'm sure you know that you can do this, but just in case you don't, I'll show you how to go about it. So what you need to do is get your bottom base plate, whatever it is you've got in your machine, the big chunky one, and you're going to put the stencil onto that, and then you put your cardstock over the stencil, and then you need some sort of rubber mat. Now mine isn't big enough, but what you can do is do a section of it at one time and then turn it around, match up and do the other section. And you can use a smaller mat to emboss the whole piece. So once you've got your rubber mat in place, you then just need one of your clear cutting plates. Your machine might differ. Most machines do come these days with a rubber mat. So hopefully you've got instructions that will explain how to use your machine. But that's the way to go about it. And then when you've done that, you will have a pattern embossed into the card. It's difficult to see on the camera here, but I think you can make out that there is a pattern there, and it is actually those butterflies. It's never going to be as deep as an embossing folder. That's not the point. It's much more subtle. But I really like using stencils this way. And if you do want it to stand out more, you can always go over that with some metallic wax or some sort of polish or sparkle or something like that. So there are lots of ways to enhance that. Sometimes if you're using a cardstock that has white core, you can sand the top off that and that would reveal the pattern in white, which is really lovely as well. So this is my base card, and you can see I've got that border that I just created with the glitter behind just down the left hand side. And then I'm going to, I was going to use my glittered happy birthday, but I haven't time to pick all the bits out. You get fed up watching. So let's just pretend that that one's pink. And that's going to go there. And I'm going to sit that onto the scalloped circle. I will finish this card off properly and I'll put a photograph up on it for you, probably tomorrow. So I was just going to pop my circle there, and then my flowers are just going to frame that. So a really simple layout, but hopefully you'll agree that's really pretty. And it showcases quite a lot of those dies that Jamie's given us in this fabulous collection. Okay, so that's one. So, any questions? Anybody not following? Let me just have a quick look. Hi, Susan. Oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila, very much. And Sue. Yes, nice colour combo, that, isn't it? Yeah, I love navy and pink, and I thought the grey, it just seems to go with so many things, doesn't it, grey? I'm a big fan of grey. As you can tell, my hair's very grey. All right, so let's just have a bit of a tidy up. And how are we doing for time? Oh gosh, we thought we were going to be on about 20 minutes, didn't we, Jamie? I told you I could waffle. All right, so I've got another one for you here. Now, I did manage to get this one finished. Again, it's going to be hard to see some of the detail, but can you see here? I've used one of those corner dies to emboss the pattern into the card, not cut out. So I'll show you how to do that, same way as you did with the stencil, but with a die. And can you see here? I've used the lines die to emboss into the card. And then I've got the happy birthday circle. I've got some of the graceful leaves and the butterfly just to finish off that really pretty card. And some more glitter. Sorry, Diane, but it had to be done. So let's have a look at some of those features. So starting with a square piece of card and the straight lines die. Now, if I do this first and then I cut my circle out, I'm going to flatten what I've done in this process. So you need to cut your circle out first. All right, so just decide where you want that to be approximately. And I wanted my circle to link with it. And I want it to be lower than centre on the card. So that's about right. So I'm going to cut this out to create that little circle aperture. Oh dear, my plates are all over the place. Right. Now again, to do this sort of technique, you are going to need a rubber mat. As I say, most machines, most manufacturers I think now do produce their own. If not, the one I'm using is actually, it's an old one. It was made by Dreamweaver and it's very thick. It's fantastic. I'm sure you could buy something like that. Jamie, get on it. Thick rubber mats, please. Right, so there's our little circle. Now I'm going to do this next stage. Let me just think this through. I want the ridges to be raised on the front. So I'm going to have to do this from the back. Yeah, so I'm going to put that die going into the circle just a little so that they're linked. I like things, when I design a card, I like things to be sort of connected. It somehow just works better for my brain. I think sometimes when you've got an element here and an element here and an element here, it can look a little disjointed and like nothing belongs. But that's just me. Okay, and then I found out that you needed some extra protection, because if I do this now, it could probably cut into my card. So I'm actually going to slip another piece in between. Now it makes it a bit tricky to position, but I do know where I had that. So let's put that back. So this piece is just giving it a bit of extra protection. And then we go back to doing that platform. The die goes against the platform. The rubber mat goes on top of the card, and then the clear plate on top of that. And that's the sandwich for me, and I'm using a Spellbinders Platinum machine. It doesn't feel as though there's a lot of resistance when you go through when you're doing this technique, so don't be fooled, it is still working. Oh, do you know what? I forgot to put my piece of card in, didn't I? Anyway, that's good because it's worked without damaging the card. So I know I'm all right to go straight onto my card. So let's do that again. When I did it the first time, it cut my card, so I was a bit concerned. But if that happens, all you need to do is put... Oh, have we gone off? I've gone off. Here we are. Did you miss me? Just put an extra piece of card between the die and the card that you want to emboss. And then that will stop it from cutting. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. What have I done? Done it the wrong way up. See, it's good this, because you're learning all the wrong ways to do it. I put it the wrong way up. Die next to the platform. Then card, then rubber mat. Can't talk and do it at the same time. It's too much for my brain. Right. Oh, that's works. There we are. So, there we have it. I know you're not going to be able to see it very well. Can you see? So that has embossed those lines instead of cutting them. So you can see why you need to cut your circle first, because if I did that and then went to cut the circle, it would just flatten those out again. And then I've done the same thing with the corners. So I wanted the corners to... which way did I do it? That way. Put the corner on the front of the card and then put the rubber mat on that way. I think that's what I did. Let's have a look and see if that works. So the die is going to go next to the platform. I don't want to run over my lines again now because it will flatten them out. So I'm only going to go partway through the machine and then come back. I don't know if you can hear that, but the little cracking noises, it's just from the machine. There we are. So, can you see that now? Nice, isn't it? And again, if you wanted to, you pop that die back in place and then put some metallic wax through or something spritzy spray perhaps if you wanted to highlight it, but I quite like the tone on tone colour. I did the same again on this corner and then began to construct the card. So I've done my happy birthday the same way I did the panel on this. So die cut the happy birthday, die cut is already in your card. So what you then do, put your double-sided adhesive at the back of the aperture, fit the happy birthday in place, put the glitter through, and that gives you this effect. Okay. Then I've die cut one of the butterflies and some of the leaves from that fantastic graceful leaves, which come all on one plate, so they all cut at the same time. And then I've just chosen the ones I wanted to swirl around the circle, but not completely cover up my lines. I've inked those with Jamie's Blue Emperor. And I cut them first because when you cut cardstock, it breaks the fibres. And if you cut it and then ink it, you'll see that the ink takes on slightly differently. And I loved that these dies have got some gorgeous little details in them. And the ink really helps to pull those out. Can you see those little veins done in little pinpricks? And these have got straight veins. Just superb attention to detail. Absolutely gorgeous. So that's how I've made that card. I know that was brief and I whizzed through it, but hopefully I've shown you the techniques as we've gone along. And I think you can see how versatile this collection really is, and also hopefully how now it's going to tie in with more up-to-date collections that Jamie's done. You can go back and revisit this collection and think, oh goodness me, yes, I've got a happy birthday with a decal circle, so I can do bigger decal circles to mat and layer with, or I can do a decal square and put the decal circle. Everything's going to match, and I think it's just absolutely superb. I was so smitten with this collection, the first one that was released, and it's just getting better and better. So I'd like to say a massive thank you to our leader, our Jamie, for sharing his genius with us all and allowing us all to play with it as well. And thank you all so much for joining me on this, my first Thursday night natter. And I hope if you've enjoyed it, you'll come and join me again same time next week. So I'm signing out. Bye for now. Take care, everybody. I'll see you soon.